Speaking of getting into some gaming, I gotta talk about the China situation, man. China wilding out, boys. They wilding out. I mean, they ain't. I mean, I don't know if they're wilding or if they maybe are actually doing a good service, man. Cause like, listen, I play a lot of video games. I got a goal in mind for what I want to do with my video gaming quote unquote career, potential career. But I see a lot of kids throw a lot of time away into video games, and from the beginning of me playing games, I always approached video games as a not a business, but I always approached it as like a craft. So like a lot of times, I I personally I personally always look at video games like I want to be as good as I can, and after a X amount of years of me and X amount of hours putting into it, if I can't get to a certain playing level to where like I can compete on a high level, maybe not pro tier level, like that's the goal, obviously always pro tier level, but I want to be able to at least compete at the highest level and be a high tier content creator. And if I am not able to do that, then I maybe want to divert to something else. Now I could potentially stay inside the video game um avenue. Maybe it's developing, or could it be potentially some other kind of content creation, some kind of news, some kind of something around video games. That's always how I've approached gaming as I've gotten a lot older. Because if not, then I'm just I'm spending 5-6 hours a day sometimes playing video games without a end result. And for me, that's just something I can't justify in my own head. Now, when you're a kid and you have a lot of free time, it feels like, what else would I be doing? And for me personally, I do think that I want to instill the same things in my kids that I just spoke about if you're going to play, have a goal with it. And maybe that's the wrong way to think about it, but personally I think that if you're going to approach it that way, that's the best and most healthy way. If you're only gonna just be playing 5-6 hours a day because you just want to have fun, I'm fine with that to a degree, because at some point you do start to feel like, well, what else could I have been doing? And I do think there are more productive things to do with your time outside of just playing video games and getting sucked down a hole for 12 hours the entire day and doing nothing else other than just kind of grinding away at the video games. And gaming has a place for you. It has potentially what you want to get out of it. You can do a lot with it. But if you're only just jumping around to a bunch of different games and just playing all day and just like talking to your friends, it's like, I often do wonder if that could potentially be stunning kids' growth. Now, I don't like, and I personally don't agree with the government coming in and telling other parents what they're able to do and what they're able to allow their kids to do. Now, if I was a parent, I want to make that decision for my kid. How many hours do you get to play video games? I will decide that for you. I don't think, this guy stepping in and saying, hey, you can only play for 3 hours a week, is a very good solution. And where is the 3 hours from? It's an arbitrary number. Is there any science behind the 3 hours and how they're allowed to play, and why they're allowed to play that long and only allowed to play a certain amount of time? I don't think that that's a great idea. So, in the statement, basically, here, in an effort to fight addiction, gamers under the age of 18 will be allowed to play only during the hours of 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and official holidays. China's main state run media agency, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to try, reported on Monday. The news is part of a broader crackdown on tech in the country. It comes less than a month after Chinese state media slammed online games as spiritual opium. That's interesting. It's an interesting use of language there. Threatening to destroy a generation, sending shares of game makers plummeting. Yeah, man, that's a huge thing that hasn't been talked about. Well, I'm sure some people have talked about. Um, this is a huge market. This is a huge market for gaming. Um, I'm sure the majority of sales for Xbox and probably I'm almost positive for PS4 are all in China. I would assume, a good portion of microtransactions that go um on in gaming as well or from China. There's I don't know another quote. I want to say of 3 billion people in China if I'm not mistaken. I don't know that for sure. I maybe fucking that number might be wild. We'll find out, but sales in China are huge for a ton of different markets. The Hollywood has a huge market there. A lot of things um will be hurt by this. A lot of stockholders, a lot of the gaming industry as a whole will be hurt by this. Not to mention the potential pro players that are coming out of China and the great, you know, aimers that came out of China. I don't really follow the Chinese scene as much as I follow the Japanese scene. The Japanese scene is a little more prevalent to me, like Sully, if you don't know who Sully is, he's an Apex Pro. He's a god tier aimer, um in Apex. So this guys like that are coming out of other countries. And it just would really suck that, potentially I can't spell or talk at all today. It would suck if that whole generation just gets, I don't want to say scammed, but kind of duped out of the fact that they could be the next pros. They could be the next Sully, whatever. And you potentially are taking away a huge market for those kids and a potential earning life or earnings for someone who could really do something they actually really enjoy and they're really, really good at. Um, it's unfortunate, man, to say the least. I really think that kind of blows, man. I don't think they're going back on this. It isn't like America where sometimes they'll make rules and tend to go back on them, but I do think that this is probably going to be permanent. So let's go here. Statista is one of my favorite websites to look at a lot of statistics. And it says right here leading gaming markets worldwide in 2021 by gaming revenue in billion. So US dollars. So we're going by US dollars, even though it's in China. So you're going to use the equivalent. You're talking $40 billion was made in China from the gaming industry. $40 billion. We had next up we got US is right below at 36 billion. So we got a huge market, but we're more than double. China and US in United States is more than double every other country. Double Japan, which is 18 million coming in at third, and then the rest are all below 10 million. So I mean, I think people obviously, they got the 3 hours a week. So the Chinese market is still there. You still have adults that can play, but you got to imagine you're losing, what, maybe 10 billion, 20 billion potentially. Who knows? I don't think you're gonna see it get cut in half. I think kids are gonna still buy games. I think parents are gonna still buy games for their kids, and there's probably gonna be workarounds for being able to still play. But there's definitely going to be some parents that are just not willing to take that risk. I want to assume in China that they're not going to be willing to take the risk of letting their kids use another. I think you have to have some sort of network, or I can't remember the exact name of it, code through the government to play. And potentially you could probably just use like your parents or your uncles or something like that to continue to play. But not every parent's gonna be willing to do that, and some parents are not gonna even want to sink the money into it to do so. So yeah, it's interesting, man. Net ease were down 8.8% at $84.59 when U.S. market opened Monday, while shares of more diversified tech giants tested and fell 2.5%. 257. Hey, this is huge, man. Earlier this month, the Chinese government took a broad seat and stake in a Chinese-based subsidiary of TikTok maker ByteDance, leading for calls from at least one U.S. senator for TikTok to be banned. We're back on the TikTok ban situation, which is a little bit scary for myself personally. I'm trying to diversify on a lot of different platforms because I'm heavily invested into TikTok at the moment, and that is a big share of my audience and my potential following, for my potential income, I should say, in the future is definitely staked a lot on TikTok. So wild couple weeks, man. A lot of other stuff still that I didn't really touch on right now. I'm not really gonna get to necessarily. That all was kind of crazy, but I'm gonna just go. I'm jumping into play some video games, man, cause I still can. And I only got about 3 hours a night to play too, so I'm gonna do that.